Thank the Force. It's Thursday night. Star Wars News at Lifetime is here. My name is Tyler, joined as always by Tom. And tonight we have a very special topic on hand. We're going to be talking about Maul's best moments. Tom and I are each, we can go back and forth for a while, talk about what we think, the best moments of Darth Maul's, Star Wars career are. And I'm excited to explore that. I jotted down like 15, 16 like different moments or scenes. And of course, because it's Maul, so many of them are dual based because of course they are. So very excited to dive into that with you, Tom. But Tom, off the top of your head, do you remember the first time you saw Darth Maul? Was it an action figure at a store? Was it the trailer? Was it in the when was it?
So I think there might have been images released before the trailer came out. I'm trying to remember the timeline. It's been quite a while, but we did speak about the first time that we saw the double-bladed lightsaber. I was in the theater. I bought my ticket for a movie I wasn't going to see because I was there to see the trailer to The Phantom Menace back in November of 1998. Went with a coworker. And when that double-bladed lightsaber came out, the audience went nuts. It was such an iconic moment. So I am, like they say, are you ready for some football? I'm ready for some Darth Maul tonight.
A lot of Maul. It's one of those things where the Darth Maul merch just goes hard. And I wish I should have taken a picture of it. I have. You know who Jake, you ever heard of Jake Bartok?
Sounds familiar.
He's like an artist. He does a lot of like Star Wars art, things like that. I have a few of his pieces, and he has one Maul versus Ahsoka like Clone Wars piece that is it's like right above me right now, so I can look on it for inspiration every time I'm needing a Darth Maul moment this evening. But I feel like Darth Maul merch is the merch that just always goes hard. Like it just looks awesome. It's the coolest. If you're having something Darth Maul related, someone's going to comment, "Oh, that's cool." Whether it's the pop figures, the shirts, like the artwork that I'm showing here, there's so many cool Phantom Menace like posters with Darth Maul on them. It is he's always a fan favorite, which is why it was not a surprise when the Bad Batch is ended and they're trying to figure out what the next animation thing is going to be. It was no surprise to any of us at Celebration when they revealed that there was going to be Maul Shadow Lord and he was going to get his own series. I don't think anyone was shocked on that one. That was a slam dunk win.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's the character that we've seen die a couple of times already, but we still want
like 5 times. I feel like
we still want more.
Always. So this is actually a fun Darth Maul question. He's in Star Wars a lot more than you think when you think about like the Clone Wars, but he's also not in Star Wars very much. And let's have this discussion now before he gets his own show. Is there another character in Star Wars that how do I say this? Is there another character in Star Wars that just maximizes their screen time more than like Maul does? You know what I mean? Where he's not in it as much as like say Anakin, Obi-Wan. You have like the main titular characters like Luke, in the movies of course, but when he is on the screen, like you just know the moment is here and it is just going to be epic. Is there anyone that can beat him in just 10 out of 10 hype that often? I almost equate it to like a sitcom where there might be like something like The Office where it would be like which characters lead in laughs per line, where sometimes the ancillary characters, you every time they're not there very much, but you laugh so much when they are there because they're used so sparingly but so well. I feel like that's Maul. He isn't always in the forefront of everyone's mind in Star Wars, but boom, when he's there, it's awesome. Is there anyone that can match Maul in that surpasses him?
Well, I would say Vader is up there, of course, but Vader has a more prominent in the scenes he's in. They're basically Vader, they're more prominent plot, I guess, based scenes. But yeah, I mean, when he's there, he owns the screen, and whenever he shows up, it's always there's always going to be some kind of impact there. And like you said, they use him very economically, I feel. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, when you think about his character in The Phantom Menace was really this one-note assassin, and how Filoni, on the request of George Lucas to bring him back, how they developed that character so spectacularly.
Yeah. I was trying to think, and Sidious was one that came to mind, but like the not the Palpatine side that we get so often in Clone Wars, but more of like when he dons the hood and you get like a Sidious moment in the animation is always nice, or even that brief cameo he had in Obi-Wan Kenobi. But it's not the same as Darth Maul. It's just not the same. Just get to completely different characters. The vibes are different, and he is worth having his own series, but I am so curious to see how we feel afterwards. Like, because sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. And that's part of this. The only concern with Maul Shadowlord is, are we going to get too much of a good thing with Darth Maul?
Yeah, and I speculated on this before. I think we talked about how this doesn't feel like it's going to be a multi-series. I'm sorry, a multi-season series with
Right.
Shadow Lord. It feels like it's maybe going to be a limited series, maybe one season. I think that this will probably tie up that gap that we have between when he comes back in Clone Wars and then when he appears in Rebels to his end. Spoilers, but this is gonna, I guess, tie up that period and what happens around that. So I feel like this should maybe close out. I mean, I always want more here and there, and I wouldn't mind seeing him show up in other forms in
Right.
comics, and maybe a Disney Plus series in depending on the time period or the era. If they go back and explore Crimson Dawn and some of the things
Mhm.
from that era.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think that I just have the feeling that this, he's the spotlight character of the series. I feel like this is may possibly tie up his story.
Mhm. There were a few new quotes from Sam Witwer that were making the rounds, and I'm really, really excited to. He's going to be in Orlando MegaCon March 19th to the 22nd. I think he gets there, and I'm really excited because, for one, I have this Battlestar Galactica like artwork, and I really want him to sign it because I
Mm.
I like his character in Battlestar, but that's one of my favorite shows. And I also don't think he probably doesn't get asked about Battlestar Galactica much anymore, given all how much Maul has taken off. So I'm excited to do that. But he's going to have a panel, and he put a little video out there saying like he's excited to talk about what he can't talk about with Maul Shadow Lord with everyone. So I am excited because I'm sure they're going to do some sort of Clone Wars reunion panel where they'll have a couple questions for him about Maul Shadow Lord, and he'll probably regurgitate a lot of the same things he's been saying, but it's always fun when you get to hear the same regurgitation in person, though. That's always adds like a little bit more level of shock and awe, even if you've heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think even if this may
Mhm.
be the end for what we see of Maul, I definitely want to see more of Sam Witwer. I think
Right.
he's a real asset to the franchise.
He is incredible, like what he's able to do. A couple
Yeah.
comments here. Thanks for hopping in the
Hey
chat,
guys.
everybody. Appreciate it. RG says that he forgot that was so big back then that he had the double bladed
Yeah,
lightsaber.
that was never seen before. That
Hmm.
was really
Hmm.
a shocking moment in that trailer.
Manslayer in the chat saying pretty much on March already. Yeah, March is this weekend, and 10 months to 2027 and the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, which is insane that we're 10 months away from probably thinking about when our big trailer for Starfighter is going to come out. You know what I mean? Like we're probably 10 months away from that. and 8 weeks away from Mando and Grogu, 85 days away from Mando and Grogu. And then, we have a month until Maul Shadow Lord. And presumably, what we believe is we're probably 6, 7, 8 months away from Ahsoka season 2 is what I still choose to believe.
Forgetting about that.
So it's gonna be jam-packed. Like, it's going to be jam-packed and exciting for the next year and change. And there's a lot to be hopeful for, I think, in this world dominated by sadness in Hollywood right now. I don't know if you saw the like the CBS or the Paramount and Warner Brothers news that looks like they're gonna completely take over and just monopolize, half of Hollywood, it feels like, which is just terrifying. But we have Star Wars to look forward to, Tom. We have Star Wars to look forward to. Manslayer says pre-Phantom Menace is a rich field to explore with Maul. Maybe
I would be there for that.
You'd be down for that? How would you want that presented? See, to me, I'm like, I almost kind of want a book or a comic series with that, or like a video game. I don't know, something. Animation maybe is fine, but nothing. But I almost kind of don't need to. I would rather that be like a fun little one-off story that I could read.
Yeah, that works. That works. I love the Darth Plagueis novel, and if you're a fan of the Phantom Menace, you should really read that. I don't know if it's canon, if it's still considered a Legends novel, but
they call it. It's considered essential Legends.
Yeah, okay. It is essential. You have to read it because it really. I kind of when I read it, I was like, oh, I wish they started episode 1 there, because they really dive into the backstory of Palpatine. Now, I don't think there's really any room for Maul there yet. You can. There are ways that you could get him into that, but I would love, I'm just fanboying, but like maybe a limited series on that would be pretty cool. If it's animated, I'm fine with it, but a live action would be pretty awesome too, since they kind of teased Darth Plagueis in Acolyte.
James Luceno is one of the best Star Wars authors. Like I love James Luceno. So, here we go. I feel like one of the reasons it's going to be more than one season, if we were going to close up that gap, that's a big gap for just one season. Talking about Maul going from, where they're starting the season to, Crimson Dawn Maul and what we see in, Solo. When they say more than one season, I could see 2 at most. A lot of these is 3. To me, Maul's just a character. I just don't think you want to keep wringing that out till it's completely dry. Like I think it's best. Maul is best left to where you can have a series. Yes, we want the series because Maul's a great character, but I don't want to get to the end of Maul's story like, yes, it's finished. Like I have so much of Maul now. I have everything answered. Like there is a level of, I feel like you almost as a company or when you're making something, you want to end, with people still wanting more. You want to end one season too early sometimes rather than one season too late. And I feel like the same thing with like sports. Like it's always probably better. It's like Bill Belichick's thing. I'll get out on a player 1 year too soon instead of being 1 year too late. And that worked for 20 years. So I kind of adopt that same philosophy here with Maul. I think he's one of those characters where I'd rather be left going, man, I want more Maul versus, all right, kind of have enough Maul. I don't know if he's a kind of character I just want to spend 3-4 seasons with.
Yeah. I don't know how much they can mine for multiple seasons. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're turning this into the next Rebels or Clone Wars. I just don't know if there's enough material. It depends on what they give us. We'll know. What is it? 4 weeks.
4 weeks, and then 4 weeks after that, we'll have the end of the season because it's only a month long. Because it's was it 2 episodes a week, or it's 5 weeks maybe? I guess because I think it's like 5 weeks. There's only like 10 episodes in the season.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll know by then. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they could, have the story, excuse me, go off in different tangents. And I know that Maul is a favorite of Filoni. So I don't know. I mean, he's calling the shots now, so we'll see what he wants to do. You know, like with Ahsoka, you know, his characters are kind of, not that he created the character, but he was really responsible, I guess, for giving us the Maul that we see now.
This
So
is this is a funny comment from Mans there. Says there's a segment where we choose our favorite set of legs from all. I'll tell you right away that for me are the ones he gets from Mother Talzin when he's brought back from Cuckoo Land. And trust me, we're gonna talk about his legs
yeah,
that he receives
maybe we
for
should segue.
sure. But great segue. Let's go ahead and get into it. Maul's best moments. So what it's going to look like here is that I'm going to give you the first pick, Tom, and we're going to go back and forth and give our rankings from best to wherever we end up tonight, for Maul's best, moments. And, this can be however you want to interpret it. It could be an extended scene from Maul. It could be an entire episode. It could be a single line. It could be just a single look. Whatever you want to determine. There are no rules here other than, Maul has to be kind of like the main character or at least a major part of what's happening around him. So obviously like Duel of the Fates, Phantom Menace would count because it's a very Maul-centric moment. So I will give you the first pick in this Maul best moments ranking. What do you think is the number one moment?
Oh, geez.
For our good Dark Lord of the Sith turned, removed from the Sith, exiled.
I don't know if I can come up with a. I wrote down.
You have to. That's your job right now. You got number one.
Oh, all right. If I had to come up with one, I have 6 awesome ones, but if I have to come up with one that I think is just so poetic and beautiful, is the death of Maul at the hands of Obi-Wan. He's ready to go.
I knew that one would be coming up.
Yeah, I mean, this one is just pitch perfect. There's nothing, it's just so, when you first see it, you're like, wow, that was it. But it is so calculated. I think Filoni or Sam Witwer had a video on YouTube when they actually talked about each thing that's happening in this scene.
I've seen the Witwer one. I'm sure Filoni has one too, but I love the Witwer one.
The Witwer one is probably the one I'm thinking of when they talk about just their fighting stance, how he goes to his early, you see Obi-Wan there with his early, like when he was young, and then you just see his wisdom. He goes to Qui-Gon's stance, and then he goes to the Obi-Wan that we know as the one in A New Hope. And what's so beautiful about this scene is when he's holding him at the end, it looks like it's almost like religious imagery, almost like a pieta, if I'm saying that word right. If you look it up, Google it, of the way he's holding him, and talks about that he's protecting the chosen one, and then Maul is his last words, he will avenge us, right? I think that's what he says. And it's almost like even with his last breath, these two warriors that have been through so much, against each other, and just the way that I guess, dignity that Obi-Wan gives him at that moment. But Maul still has that hatred in him that he wants revenge. And Obi-Wan has moved past that. It's such a amazingly executed sequence.
Right.
So I think that this is where like the animated series is elevated to, like, I mean, we're getting close to me, quality like Andor. As far as
well, the storytelling is just incredible because you're just Maul dying, being a victim of the rage and hatred that has been, implanted in him since he was young by Darth Sidious. And now he is here, unable to let go of any of that. And that's how he ultimately meets his own demise. And what I think also takes place here is he was ready to die. Like, he was kind of ready for it all to end. I think, he obviously won his revenge on Kenobi, but if he gets his revenge on Kenobi, what's next for him after that? If he takes Kenobi out, like, he doesn't, I think it was almost like this sigh of relief for him that he finally got to move on. And it was like Kenobi freed him from shackles that he had, had on him for so long. But yeah, I love that video of them doing this. So that definitely can't argue with that in terms of a Maul movement, like at all. There's you won't have any argument for me. So number one there for Maul. I'm gonna go differently for pick number two. This one is just pure aura. Like this is just going pure aura, pure vibes. When the doors open, you hear Duel of the Fates for the first time starting to hit, and he ignites both ends of the lightsaber. You talked about in the trailer. But like just seeing that for the first time on a big screen or on your TV, and not having the concept of like, oh, nowadays it's been so long where a double-bladed lightsaber doesn't really have that same effect. Like we've seen it so many times, but just the pure aura that he is putting on in this moment, coupled with what many might consider to be the greatest of John Williams Star Wars compositions that's beginning to play around him, and for what many people probably would say might be their favorite duel in all of Star Wars, might be this one. It is, and in you throw in everything on the line right now, Qui-Gon fighting for the future of Anakin. You have the Force itself almost having this battle here, and it's manifested in Darth Maul versus these two Jedi. But even beyond the fight, just the moment, the entrance alone, like I'm not even including the Duel of the Fates itself. I'm just saying pure entrance. Like Darth Maul could have jumped down from the rafters at any point or burst through the doors, but he said, you know what? I am going to like aura farm right here. I am going to manifest the greatest badass energy of all time and wait for these doors to open. Lightsaber not ignited yet. I'm just going to stand here and look menacing. That is what we see in this moment, and that's why I am putting it number 2 in my first pick.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. You basically said everything. Like I remember in the theater just seeing it for the first time, and just that, I don't know, that rush when the music starts playing, the double-bladed lightsaber. Yeah, I mean, and that duel did not disappoint. That is definitely one of the best in all of Star Wars.
Yeah. Bum, bum, dun, dun.
It just choreographed. Like I know every bit of the choreography probably by
and
heart.
it's one of those where that, like the Phantom Menace, like I've said this, it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It's in the top like 3 for me, and sometimes it's just my favorite movie in general, just because of so much of what this last scene is, the last few scenes here once they get to Naboo again, but pod racing, obviously all that. But Maul is such a big part of that for a character who barely speaks. And my biggest gripe is that he does quote unquote die in this for the movies. I always, I've never been a big Count Dooku fan. I've always been one of those people that says Maul should have survived here, killed Qui-Gon, and Anakin should have been the one to kill Darth Maul in Revenge of the Sith. And that's what, like, how he ultimately takes Maul's place, is he gives into that anger he's felt for all these years over Qui-Gon's death. Like that's been my number. That's like the only really thing I would change about the prequels. Is like that's like my one change. But in Darth Maul is just in this moment the energy that he gives in this entrance, second to none.
Most definitely.
Let me throw back to you here. You got pick number 3. So pick 1, we had to go with, you went with here, with Obi-Wan and, Maul and his death. I dropped us in to the Phantom Menace with pick 2. Where are you going for pick 3?
So actually, I was going to pick this one for 3, but I will go to my next one that I love, that I don't think a lot of people talk about, but his Maul's duel with the Emperor and Savage Opress in, I believe it's in Clone Wars. Yes. That to me may be the best duel I've ever seen in any media of Star Wars. That if you go and watch that, just the choreography of that fight and what's going on, to me was just the animation was so impressive. I I have a bit of a background in animation, and I know how hard it is, and I know that for a lot of this they do sometimes motion capture, but this duel is just sick. Like and I'll talk about another one after that most people are probably thinking I'm going to mention next, which I probably will. But there was another duel too. There is another, but this one to me, there's just something about it. The way it's done is just so amazing, and how Palpatine owns these like amazing like warriors, and how Palpatine just like using the beat down, but it's just
there's a
so well
few things about this duel. Okay, so number one is the absolute absurdity that Palpatine like would need to leave Coruscant just to go do this. Like, it's actually kind of funny. Like, there's no way that he would do this. There's no way that he would or should do this. And the absurdity that he just has a second lightsaber just lying around to go do this. It's so absurd, but it is so freaking incredible that you just overlook all the absurdity because it is so magnificent to watch Palpatine just laughing his way through this. It gives the impression that he is so sick and tired of just playing in the background for a moment. He just wanted to get the toys out and go play some pickup ball with the boys and show them like, all right, I still got it. Like, I'm going to put them in their place. Like when I was 8, thinking I could finally beat my dad in basketball. And then my dad, who's like 6'2", 6'3", just decides he's not going to let me shoot over the top of him anymore. And just starts volleyball spiking the ball back in my face. And it's like, all right, yep, guess I got some growing to do still. And not only this, though, like he kills Maul's brother in front of him. And then doesn't kill Maul. It's just another moment where Maul is just forced to his knees and into submission to who he calls, multiple times the most powerful being in the galaxy. And I wonder if, this moment could get referenced in the show, because I don't think Maul has a lot of respect anymore for Darth Sidious by what he's talked about. Like this Empire, from what Whitwer is saying, Maul has no respect for the Empire. And it's not what he maybe thought it was going to be whenever, the Sith came into power again. And I'm wondering if some of his, his reverence for Palpatine isn't going to go away. Like he's going to acknowledge like he is the GOAT, but I don't think that he's necessarily pleased with what's going to be taking place. And I'm just wondering if we're going to hear any about Savage at all in the show.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if they will reference him, but yeah, it's interesting. I have to, it's been a while since I've seen some of these episodes, so I do need to, I guess, revisit them. Yeah, seeing Palpatine dueling was amazing.
Manslayer prefers Maul versus Vizsla here.
We're just getting started, Manslayer. I think that's gonna come soon. Maybe next.
So we could talk. So actually, real quick on the Maul and Savage, moment. There is like a funny story. It's not even a funny, actually, no, funny is not the right word, but there is a story that I will share. And my introduction to Clone Wars was very interesting. I watched the first, season or two as a kid. And then for whatever reason, I don't know if like we weren't able to watch anymore, like due to like we moved and we like lost TV for a while or something or whatever. But I didn't watch anymore after the first couple of seasons. And then I got older, got into college, and I still big into the Star Wars, but I was reading more books or different things. And I kind of just fell away from diving super deep into the fandom itself. And then, The Force Awakens comes out and then boom, it ignites everything. And it was 2019 when I finally decided, I was like, enough's enough. Like, I'm going to go watch every single animated thing. I'm going to go back for where I was. And so I'm like 20 something years old watching the Savage duel. And I remember I think I called Luke as soon as I watched it because Luke had seen it. I called him and I just was like, dude, I just watched that thing for the first time. And when Luke and I were just like, we just like nerded out over it for a while. But discovering this hidden Palpatine duel that I could have watched for 10, 15 years. And I have denied myself of that for so long. It was heartbreaking, but also finally so satisfying to see. Okay. So I'm going to be maybe a bit repetitive here, but this is my next favorite Maul moment. And I'm going to explain why. And it's, I love the fact that he just jumps off and he's fighting. You get a brief image of him fighting Qui-Gon, and you kind of get our first glimpse of Maul. But what I love is that Darth Maul comes speeding in on his little speeder, and Anakin's there and was about 2 seconds away from being decapitated. And Maul did not give a flip. He's just going straight in and looking to decapitate him. And I think there are much better Maul moments, but that to me it speaks so much of who Maul is a character. He's like, I see the line there, I'm going straight towards it, full speed ahead, leaping off. And this was, the first lightsaber action that we get in the prequels. I mean, we have the opening, sequence with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon taking out the battle droids, but this is like our first, lightsaber on lightsaber action that we get in these movies. And, just watching this, knowing that there's another duel that you're gonna see later on, and you don't get Maul fully like the hood off to see all of it right there in the flesh. You don't get the double-bladed lightsaber yet. You just get a brief glimpse of the magnitude of this warrior. That it just, every time I watch it, when I get to this moment, for a lot of people, it starts kind of the decline because it's, all right, now we're going to get into all the politics on Coruscant. But I watch this and I'm just amped for what's to come every single time. And, I love this moment in the desert. And it was the first time you kind of see that, genuine look of fear, like on Qui-Gon's face. And it starts the whole through line of, the prophecy, because now Qui-Gon is convinced that Anakin is the chosen one just because of this moment right here where feels like he has encountered a Sith Lord for, the first time in a millennia, as far as they know. So this to me is just an epic moment that maybe isn't some of the best character work for Maul, but on like a galactic scale, it means so much, and he's a big part of it.
Yeah, it was his introduction. Basically, we get to see him fight, what he's capable of, and the heroes narrowly escape. It was another, again, you got to give it to that to, what's his name, Nick Gillard, I guess, who was the prequel, I guess, stunt coordinator, or like he taught all the fight choreography, or he designed and mapped out all of these duels. And he did an amazing job. And to see that again, again, this is the first time we get to see a lightsaber duel after, so much time had passed. So yeah, this was definitely a memorable scene.
Where are you going for the next pick, sir?
Okay, I had two that I didn't know which one I would do next, but I think I'm gonna go with Manslayer's pick of when Maul gets the Darksaber. That was just such an amazing scene. And of course, then and I think there's one shot in it that I just love when he finally picks up the Darksaber. If that scene, he's kind of like holding it right up to his face, and it like the blade ignites, and then he kills Paz Vizsla, and I'm sorry, Pre Vizsla, and yeah, it was just such a powerful scene, and Bo-Katan is there watching, and all the, I guess, they have to flee because now Maul is in control of Mandalore. It was just, it was amazing, but like also just to see that fight with I'm trying to remember if we've seen any of the duels before this with the Darksaber, but that was just really epic. And what I love about this season of Clone Wars is that you just see Maul's rise, and how I think there's one scene, and I'm gonna piggyback with this, but where I think it was in the trailer too, where he talks about that he's going for his revenge, and I'm gonna basically, I'm paraphrasing, but wipe out like that pretender Dooku, and all our enemies will fall, or something along those lines. It was just so powerful, and you get to see really, you're really thankful that they brought him back, because you get to see what he's doing and how he's, in Star Wars. I don't want to say up to this point, but a lot of times it was good versus evil, and Maul is just this force of nature that's there, that he's he's just foiling both the good guys and the bad guys, and it's pretty amazing. But yeah, this fight was a blast to watch.
And you throw in how there is a level of honor that Maul has in this weird twisted way in this fight, where he doesn't call upon the Force and start throwing Pre Vizsla around. He almost honors the Mandalorian tradition of, I'm going to fight you one warrior to another, and we're gonna let the best one win. And I really enjoyed how Pre Vizsla's story ends as well here, and how Bo-Katan, she turns away and refuses to accept it, which leads a whole new line of storytelling for her. This episode's a through line for a lot of that. And, this is some great Maul work here. This is the first time I might push back. I don't think I'm as high on this one as you and Manslayer are in the chat here. Manslayer is, but, you cannot deny that this one is a great Maul moment for sure. Anyway, so I'm gonna move on here. I have two that I am wrestling with, and it's like really hard for me to choose between them. But I think ultimately I have to go with this one. Let me put it on. And this is Maul getting reborn with the Night Sisters, and them almost like putting him back together, giving him his new legs, getting the little spider legs off of him. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to encapsulate this, not just this moment, but this whole time, where from when Savage first finds Maul, and he's just going crazy. Like, that you're like, is he there anymore? And he grabs Savage. He's just like, revenge. I must have revenge. And you just say, okay, like, some of this is still there. And this is the first time, and that would be the first time we've really heard Maul speak a lot. And the first time we really heard Sam Witwer, as Maul, because, in Phantom Menace, he doesn't talk a whole lot. And then here we are with him just going on this tirade, and we move forward, and he gets reborn in this moment. And at the end of this episode is when, he gets his lightsaber from Savage and ignites it. And it starts this whole path. And this was where, Clone Wars, I felt, went from really good to, oh my goodness, what is possible in this show? Because now they just started bringing in all of these other elements. Like, you have the Clone Wars themselves going on. You have the battles between that Palpatine is, trying to fight on both sides here. You have Anakin's struggle. You have Anakin and Padme things going on. And then this just unlocks even more with that Obi-Wan Satine arc. You're bringing back the real nostalgia vibes of the Phantom Menace. You're incorporating the start of a journey with Maul that we're still on today. Like, this was just a monumental episode that maybe we didn't even realize at the time how big it would be moving forward. But it's also just really cool to see how they reintroduced Maul. There's the Night Sister element of all of this, seeing how their magic is, once again being worked here. And he gets those mechanical legs, makes for really cool action figures. If you ever have the Maul, action figure with the mechanical legs, I think that this one is just definitely a big time episode for Maul.
Yeah, I agree. It was very interesting, and I think maybe along with this one is when we first see him with those spider legs too. I think that was that's not my next pick, but that's so
creepy.
I just love Witwer's performance. The madness of Maul and his, yes, they say his thirst for revenge, but like just the madness of him. And then when he, with the Night Sisters, he kind of becomes more himself. But like when we first see him, he's just kind of like become this grotesque, being.
Lost being too.
Lost. Yeah, that, like, and I think Filoni's always compared him. We've said this before. Is it Sisyphus, the Greek from Greek mythology, of just trying to lift that boulder up that hill, and it keeps
push that one up there, always trying to forever.
That's Maul. He's a tragic character. So, but I do have another pick.
Okay, what's the next one?
This one was also beautifully animated, and the storytelling in it is so amazing. And I would say Maul's duel with Ahsoka.
Okay.
And I just, what I love about it? Well, first of all, I know that they brought Ray Park back, and they did some motion capture to get that. Yeah. Oh, the animation here is just off the charts. And the way that they incorporated the mocap with the duel was so amazing, because you get to see, it's almost like you're seeing Ray Park perform Maul again. So it was amazing. But also with that, what I love about the story is when he's piecing together Palpatine's plan, and it's dawning on him what is happening around them.
And it's happening now, like right now.
Right then. And he's like, but Maul is like, he's seeing it before, like, Ahsoka's even seeing it. Like, maybe she doesn't want to see what's happening.
For the Jedi, for the Republic to fall, it already has. You just haven't seen it yet. Right. There is no justice. Like that whole little speech from him is so good.
Yeah, I just love this.
Order that will replace it. So there's two trains of thought that I have with this, like two lines of thought that I have with this one. The first is that I feel like it's really weird story-wise that the giant culmination of Clone Wars is between two characters that never interact with each other the entire show until this moment. Like I think it's a little odd, to do that, and that kind of almost makes the show seem like, oh, this show was about Ahsoka and Maul, and Maul's really not a huge part of the Clone Wars in general, like the whole show. He has some of the most important parts, and you could argue in the later seasons, because he's so prevalent in some of the biggest episodes, that it makes sense. But then Ahsoka being there, but on the flip side, all the main characters are spoken for the most part, and how their stories end. So, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in, the two biggest characters from the Clone Wars whose stories don't end immediately after. We have these clear endings, like Maul's ending, of course, but it's a little different because we don't have a lot in between that. So it makes sense from that perspective, and it is just an epic duel. Like, I love watching the two of these go at it, and I love how when you watch it for the first time, that Ahsoka should not join Maul. Like, he's the bad guy, but at the same time, you're like, but what if they could take down Sidious? And you just, even in your own, mind, you're thinking about it. And Ahsoka is, I think, even considering it herself for a moment, until she brings up Anakin. Like, what do you want with Anakin? She's like, I'll help. She even says, like, I'll help you, but tell me what you want with Anakin Skywalker first. And it's even more heartbreaking because you see in this moment that she is so unwilling to acknowledge the darkness that is in Anakin, and refuses to see that. And for Maul, Maul has seen it. He's had a vision. He's seen it. He knows that he is a part of the plans. But I am beyond awed when I watch this for the first time and continue to see it. Just all of the careful, honestly, devotion to the craft that was put into making these, episodes, these episodes in particular are so special, because they really are, and they will stand the test of time, for forever, in terms of the Star Wars lore, in terms of animation feats, in terms of just impact on, the series as a whole. This is definitely worthy of being up there. And I chose this image too, because I just love the shot of when the glass explodes and it shatters and is flying all around them. but all you're doing is you're just fixated on these two.
Yeah, it's just like, again, like you said, so well executed, and you feel it. It's interesting too. Like, that was an interesting point you had about them not being, maybe, I guess, the pivotal characters that the Clone Wars, like, or at this point in the history of Star Wars, that I guess the crux of the story is on. But it's so interesting because they are so related to the people that are, I guess, are
Mm-hmm.
that's what's being set up as far as Ahsoka's relationship with Anakin, um, and Maul, I guess, with
Mm-hmm.
Sidious.
Like the former fallen apprentices, so to speak,
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
two people that are going to bring the galaxy to its knees,
But you're seeing it through their eyes, which is an interesting choice. And I mean, we could wax poetic on it, I guess, all night, but like, it's just pretty cool.
Mhm. At the end of the day, it is pretty.
Good.
Yeah, I can't argue with this one at all. So I have another one here, and I'm surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that we haven't talked about this episode yet. When Maul kills Duchess Satine in front of Obi-Wan, and that, oh man, when you talk about dark episodes.
Yeah, that was dark.
Where, Maul is probably at his most villainous in this episode. I mean, you have to really hate someone to be there, and you are going to make them watch as you kill the person that they love in front of them. And it's not like a immediate thing. He's force choking her and putting her through the lightsaber like that. It's such an act of malice that you don't see from him as bad in any other moment. Like, you see, like, is almost always directed directly at Obi-Wan, but this one is directed, straight at Obi-Wan, but through Satine. And we don't really see that elsewhere from Maul, in the series. It's mostly like, I'm going to go straight at Obi-Wan. How can I take him down? I'm going to go straight at this person. How can I take him down? This was much more, how can I make you suffer in 1,000 ways? And I mean, if you don't get choked up and emotional when you watch this one, then you don't have a soul.
It's funny because I was always so I was so wondering how they were going to deal with, because when they brought Maul back, that he was going to encounter Obi-Wan again, and I thought they were just going to duke it out to the death. But it's interesting how he wanted to make Obi-Wan suffer. It was very cruel, but like, I guess it came into it was in character with Maul. The only thing about this is I thought Obi-Wan would put up more of a fight. That was something that bothered me, and I have to watch the episode again, but I thought that, like, maybe if they had Obi-Wan more, I guess, kind of like, how they had Maul in that episode with in the Clone Wars, the last one, when he's like in that, like, he's kind of like Hannibal.
He's like in the forced prison thing.
Yeah, like, but Obi-Wan, I felt like maybe, I felt like they should have done that, because I feel like
we have some Obi-Wan slander here on the show here.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan,
I don't know.
Obi-Wan, hashtag Obi-Wan lets Satine die.
No, I don't think. But I feel like
hashtag Obi-Wan hates pacifism.
You know me, I'm usually positive on everything, but sometimes I'm like, that was kind of strange. Like, I don't know.
I think Obi-Wan secretly was glad to be rid of Satine once and for all.
He wanted to get rid of the I guess, attachment.
he took that attachment stuff way too seriously. He like orchestrated this whole thing with Maul. He said, I'm struggling with some attachment. I'm trying to set a good example for Anakin. What can we do here? Let's make a deal.
I don't know. I felt like maybe if they would have had him like shackled up more, or like in that prison thing, then it would have, to me, made more sense. But still, it's phenomenal. I love this episode, and I love how they did it, and I love the rest of that arc, I guess, on Mandalore. So yeah, it's just sometimes those things just pop out at me. I see it in everything of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I usually try to be positive and just let it, it doesn't bother me, but sometimes it just to me stands out, those little things.
Okay. Never had that issue really with that one, but I could see it. Do you have any more like the mall moments that you want to go through?
We actually named all the ones that I had. So, and I
So
know
I'll
there's
go
I'm
I'll
gonna
go
keep
rapid fire through a few more
go
just
for it.
to get them out here before we close. I mean, you have the Maul, Savage, Savage Asajj and Obi-Wan duel that
Massage.
takes place on the ship is so good with the,
That's good.
tight
I remember
quarters, and you just see the rage of Maul there for the first time. I
that was the first
absolutely love
time
this.
they met, right? Since
Yeah.
Mulder back? Yeah, that was really well done too.
There's obviously the scene in Solo where he comes back, and this would have been in 2000 and okay, so this is great. So this would have been 2018
Correct.
when Solo came out, and this was right when I had just started going back and watching through, some of the Star Wars animation and getting caught up with some of these things. But I hadn't got to Maul being alive yet. So I saw Maul here and I was so confused but I was like in awe. I was so excited. And then I felt like, am I a real Star Wars fan? I don't know how this is. How did I miss this? And so that was when I'm like, okay, this is not going to happen anymore. And that's when we really dove and just the love for it all just came, you know, back. I'm with Manslayer here. The shot I don't like, the light of the saber. Let me Black Susan Maul looks kind of weird. I did think Maul looked a little off in this one. Like they went too hard to make him look like an older version of himself. But I was just in shock and awe of him returning.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. It was so out of left field.
And then I know we have short on time. Let's rapid fire through these last couple here. There's the Ahsoka Kanan Maul fight in Rebels, and there's even a brief moment where they're all three fighting together, which is a fascinating one as well. I think it's worth mentioning. He has this whole like time in Rebels where he's an extremely important character, and like you have like the stuff that he does with Ezra, and Ezra sees the dark saber there, and that's where Sabine ultimately picks it up, and there a whole lot of things going on there with the oh my gosh, with the visions and him trying to figure out where Kenobi is. So, it's worth mentioning those as well. And then last one I put on here, and this is just for vibes alone, was when he was meeting with Black Sun.
Oh yeah.
And then he like had Savage throw his lightsaber and just behead all of them. It was absolutely insane.
Good family entertainment.
So
yeah, that was pretty sick.
For the
Especially
kids,
since
the
knowing, reading some of the what was the novel with Caesar, why can't I think of it? Dash Rendar. That one that came out. Yeah, I'm blanking on it. You guys might have to help me out. Prince Caesar and anyway, but that character was from that, and to see them take those guys out was pretty awesome. Shadow of the Empire. Thank you, Manslayer. For some reason I blanked on it. Yeah, I mean, of course, and I add this with the death of Maul, but like that whole episode, Twin Sons, was pretty phenomenal, and of course the Kenobi.
It's Kenobi. So good.
My cats.
So good. So yeah, there's our Maul rankings. It was a fun time, Tom, going through everything with Darth Maul this evening. And now we've come to our new segment that we do. But it's what are we recommending out there in the world right now? Tom, we got 5 minutes here before we gotta go. Any recommendations for the people out there of what you are interested in, looking forward to diving deeper in anything in particular?
That's a good question. For some reason, I was getting into the old Battlestar Galactica again. And just I was watching a lot of like clips from the show. This is the one from 78, 79. I remember seeing it as a kid, and it was like satisfying that need when Star Wars was coming out. Like, there was one movie every 3 years. And just looking back on, I was really impressed. I know a lot of the people that worked on Star Wars worked on some of the effects in the ships. I was really inspired by like what they did. We were talking about this. I was talking with some friends about some of the creativity in those days before. I'm not, I'm a fan of visual effects, CG, and things like that. But back when resources were limited, for certain shots, and some of the creativity of these model makers from back then, and how great, like I was looking at the designs of like the ships, the Cylon Raiders, the Colonial Vipers, and I love the newer. It's not that new at this point, but the newer Battlestar Galactica as well. But I have a lot of nostalgia with the old one, so I've been checking that out. So I recommend you guys should check it out.
Okay. I have one from the newer one. I have some artwork. I'll have to bring it out. I'll have to show you next week. So I'm gonna try to get Sam Weber to sign it here in a few weeks. I'm excited. But no, Battlestar. Like I haven't seen the like OG like older battle one. I've seen the newer one that they made in the I guess almost like 20 years ago at this point, I guess. But I love that show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But for me, my recommendations right now, I will say this again: Survivor 50, greatest adventure show on television. The 3-hour premiere yesterday was just a fever dream. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was in awe. It was amazing. I loved every second of it. And then, of course, I said this last time too, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I need to watch the finale, but that is, there's two things that wrote me in. And like Star Wars, I always maintain this intense love for Star Wars all the time. But every time I see or read or watch something that's like really good Star Wars, it gets a whole new side of me going. And the Game of Thrones, like Westeros stuff, anytime I see something really good from that universe, I'm just all the way back in, and I liked Night of the Seven Kingdoms. There's part of it. I just liked it much more than I've enjoyed like House of the Dragon. So I watching it has been really fun. So, those are my main recs right now. Basketball season, sadly ended a little sooner than I would have liked, which means that I'll also maybe have a little more time to dive into everything that I want to get into again to some degree now. So stay tuned, everyone, for some more Mandalorian replay episodes from Tom and I. We have a lot to cover in the next 85 days, but I have no doubts that we will get there. My fiance just finished watching the Ahsoka Tano episode, so she's almost done with season 2. Join Star Wars News Net for all your Star Wars news and needs. We will be here. Luke and I will get together to record the next episode of the Timeline Show before we turn 90 years old, I'm sure, at some point. And follow me on TikTok at Star Wars Book Dude. Tom, thank you for hopping in, talking some Maul this evening. It was a great and glorious time. And in just a month, we'll be talking about, some Maul Shadow Lord on our screens. So that's really exciting. And everyone in the chat, thanks for hopping in this evening. Really appreciate all of you. Reach out as always if you ever want to talk more Star Wars in Discord. We'll see you next week on Star Wars News Net Live, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. For Light and Life, remember, we are all just hoping someone avenges us like Maul did.
Good night, everyone.